this past week we went camping for the first time with our new camper, pulled by an excursion that had the track record of breaking down every single time we pulled with it. So
100% of the time you put a trailer on it, it's gonna cost you money.
So we were feeling a little uncertain as we were getting ready to go. All right, our maiden voyage. Are you ready?
Please no problems with the excursion.
But ultimately we had a good trip and we learned quite a few lessons along the way, so we want to share those with you today.
I'm doing the most difficult cut right now.
Okay.
I'll get it to fit, but I don't know that I'm going to get it to click into place because there's a wall here. This is a wall, and it is going to go around the wall.
Oh, wow.
Which I'll get it to fit, but again, I don't know that it's going to snap in place.
First lesson that I learned on this trip was to trust your husband. So we're in the middle of remodeling this camper. We bought it with water damage. Tom repaired all of the water damage in the floor, and we were up against the wire to when we were supposed to be leaving to go camping, and so I didn't want him to put the vinyl plank flooring down that we were going to put in it. He just started anyways.
So here's my lovely piece.
Okay.
I really don't think it's going to go in, but
That's the attitude.
all I can do is try.
For those of us who don't really actually know how these floorings work, how does it have to?
It has to click in two directions. It has to click down and into this edge,
Okay.
and then it also has to click down and into this edge.
Okay.
So if I can't even get it to go into place,
That's not a good sign.
probably not gonna click into place.
So you got all of the flooring done and it looks awesome, and it actually made the camper feel not quite so much under construction because we're like in the middle now of reconstructing it.
Right.
And so I was really glad that you got that done. It did make it feel a lot nicer.
You're welcome. And how long did it take me?
It didn't take you long at all. What, 4 hours? 5 hours?
Maybe 4.
Yeah, no, you flew with it. I guess you get faster at it each time you put it down. So our first day, we got up to the Duluth North Shore area successfully, no problems with the excursion or the camper. And we spent the first day with Tom's family. Just found we got to meet your new nephew and didn't end up getting to our campsite that night, which was at Pattison State Park.
Till late, yeah.
Yeah, it was about 7:30. We had never been to this before, but it has Wisconsin's tallest waterfall. And so everyone had said it's a really nice campground. So we're like, well, that's a great place to spend our first night. So we got there, we located our site, and it was not very big.
It was super tiny, and all of the camp spots, like you drive through this tiny little trail, and they all kind of like tuck off.
Yeah, because it was a one-way.
Yeah, it was a one-way, and it was narrow, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, the way that it was designed, like, or the way it looked, was I would have to like swing around and back in, and I was like, no way with this huge camper, am I backing this thing in?
So he ended up pulling out of the one-way and backing up the one-way backwards to get into what looked like the paved section where we're supposed to park the camper.
Kind of weird.
It was kind of weird. And so Tom starts backing in. I didn't even end up videoing this because it was all a little stressful what was going on.
And it felt weird. It just felt like, is this really the setup?
And so I jump out to go to the back to direct Tom so he could back in as far as possible because there was another RV set up not very far away. They had a campfire going, they had all their stuff out, and so
they had another car, they had
they were out there, and so we're trying to back in far enough that like we're into the campsite, but like not hit their RV and stuff. So I'm directing Tom, and the gentleman that was at that campsite comes up to me and he was like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "No, we're just backing into our site, we're good." And he's like, "Okay." And then he comes over again and he was like, "This is our campsite?" And I was like, "Oh no."
I'm like, what?
But we had just looked at the email. We're like, Site 36, like, and so it just didn't, like, I was like, I think we're in the right spot. So Tom pulled up the email on his phone with the confirmation. We showed it to the guy.
Right, because like Dawn says, it was later, it was getting dark, and I was like, I booked this thing last minute.
Oh yeah, we assumed it was our fault.
I was like, crap, did I read the read the
like,
email
is it for
wrong?
next weekend?
Or I was like, is it for tomorrow night?
Yeah, totally.
Because it was a one-night stay.
And everything was booked. We had a hard time even finding this site. So sure enough, though, we did have it reserved, and we ended up going and talking to the park host, the camp host. He was right across from us. He's like, no, they were supposed to go. And so then this guy's like, he's like, oh, I feel like we feel bad. We thought we had it another night. And so we're like, you can stay.
You're fine. Like, I literally just want to put some jacks down, plug in, and go to sleep.
Right.
Like, you're fine.
Like, the kids need to go to bed. They had a fire going, and he's like, you can come, like, if you want to go by the fire. Yep. We're like, that would be totally fine. The camp host, however, did not agree with our plan and said,
he was like, nope, they gotta leave.
Too many people there, and so he made them pack up and leave, which...
It was like 8:30 by then.
I know. They were from the same state, so I don't know how far they had to drive. So we just went down by the lake for a little bit. And
it was weird. Like, I mean, we haven't done a whole lot of, like, actual camping.
No.
What do we do in our other camper? Outside of our Texas trip, like, two trips?
Yeah.
Two really local stuff?
Yeah.
So we haven't actually done a whole lot of, like, campground camping.
No.
So we didn't know. But yeah.
So that was our first night experience. So I'm like, okay, from now on, I won't make Tom like back into teeny tiny camp spots until we're like it's like not a double.
Yeah, if it feels like this doesn't feel like how it is, it's probably not how it is.
Yeah. So we'll do a little more investigating next time if this ever happens again. Well, we just finished our first night in this camper at our first campground. It went pretty well. So the kids have, a similar bunkhouse layout to what we had in our old camper. So that was good. But I think what we're both kind of surprised by is that even though this camper is so much bigger than our other one, the storage is not super great in it. So even Tom noticed we're like have no counter space. So there's a lot of stuff over there. And just like these cabinets aren't really functional because there's like no baskets or anything like that in there. So there's just anyways, it's not super functional, and there's actually like very little storage here. So we have some figuring out with that to do. I can also show you like our food cabinet not functioning well at all. So this is the cabinet, like we're across from the bathroom, this cabinet, and this is all of our food just like piled in there. So Tom's planning to put some shelves in there when we get back, and and put like a face board on the shelves so stuff doesn't fall out. So that's definitely gonna be a must when we get back. And then even for the kids area in our old camper, there was actually 4 drawers in here, which was perfect. But again, this is just like, they have a hanging bar, so we could hang up everybody's clothes, but that's just not maybe super practical for camping. So Tom's gonna do something with that too. So I remember when we bought the camper, I was inside with the gal, you were outside looking around. She was talking about like where they stored stuff, and I was like, with our last camper, we didn't have any storage issues. If anything, I felt like we had extra storage. And she kind of looked at me like, oh. And so I was like, okay,
that's weird.
Whatever. But I mean, not actually real problems, right? Like it's still like, it feels huge in here, and it's super nice, and I don't know, it's been awesome. So we really like it. It's just, we'll just have some adjusting to do when we get back home. So just because a camper is bigger doesn't mean it has more storage or better storage. But we did feel like the drawers under the bed that we put in.
Oh, fantastic.
Awesome.
Best thing ever.
Those functioned super well. They didn't even open when we were driving. I didn't even think about that.
No, because they had the slow close, so they didn't.
Yeah, so they were perfect, and really like how those function.
What have you been doing?
$32. I think we did pretty well for $32.
Well, considering that we didn't think it was going to be winter up here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go distribute it. They'll fight over it too.
Pretty much.
So I looked at the forecast before we left, and I knew it was going to be chilly, but I think I was in denial about how cold it was actually going to be, so we just probably did sweatshirts. So we did find a good thrift store that had some coats, so Tom didn't find anything that was the only problem, so he's going to be cold. But the rest of us, I think, are actually going to be pretty warm. So.
And right, we thought it was going to be cooler, so we're like jeans, hoodies, like cool, little campfire, fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it was just cold.
It was like closer to freezing than we'd like to admit.
Yeah, which did mean we ended up spending more time in the camper than we had on our previous trip, and I think we really appreciated the extra space that we have in this camper.
Like you mean like in the morning time instead of like hanging out outside at a
Yep.
picnic table, we were in the camper because it was like cold.
Cold.
We're hungry, Mama.
I know. We usually like to cook outside, but it is really chilly out today, so.
Like by chilly, Dawn means 40 degrees.
Like actually cold out. We're not just being wussies.
Yeah, 40 degrees. Emergency location.
What does it say?
It says an emergency location number.
Told you we went.
Where
We should have gone to.
We're supposed to be finding an overlook.
We totally lost the trail somewhere.
I told you. Let's go back.
It's pretty, but
Well, do you want to go back and then take that trail straight across
Yes,
where we
let's
turned?
do
Sure.
that.
That's what I said.
all right.
we should have done.
So this time we're gonna look at the map, right?
You know, maybe that's why my legs hurt so much. Like I've been crawling around that truck in the shed working on it, and I was just like, man, what is my problem? I just forgot all the hiking.
So we walked down this one side. It was 96. It says at the top like 96 steps, and we told the kids because they're all
Right.
like, we want to go, and Tom and I are like, no.
We're like,
Nope.
you understand this staircase goes down, and that's it. You have to come back up it. We're
That's
not
the
just.
only way to get
that's
back
the only
up.
way to get out of there is back up it.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah. We're like, you don't even know. You don't know how many steps this is. So we got down there. It was so.
It was awesome.
Pretty.
We just sat at the river.
Yeah.
This is like
But I
paradise.
actually
Just
walked
like paradise.
through
Yes.
the river.
And there was
Yep.
no one else around. I remember we looked over. Gage was just like sitting on this rock. He had like
He
his
was,
arms
like-
crossed, and he was just like
he was,
looking
like,
out
just-
over the water.
It was awesome. Like it was really
it was
fun.
super cool. Yeah. So we spent a little bit of time down there. Just it was so peaceful, and so it was well worth it.
Hey, Gage, you gotta wait for us at the top.
Holy cow! He's just like flying up. A squirrel.
Okay, so the other thing, going back to it being colder, that actually was a total blessing in disguise because it being cooler for hiking, you don't
Yeah.
sweat, and there were 0 bugs.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's true.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, it was a great time to be up there, and way less people
Oh, yeah.
too, which was super
Yeah.
nice. Adeline, what did you just tell me a minute ago?
Okay, less than a minute. I said, Daddy refuses to use more than 2 matches.
Well, the first match broke, so that one didn't count. So more than one match, right?
Well, it was smoking, and Dad said, it's gonna light, it's gonna light.
And what happened?
It was
It lit.
It lit.
I
You hate being wrong?
Yes, but I think everyone does.
Who else?
say most people love being wrong.
No, who else really hates being wrong, Adeline?
Mommy.
I'm not so
Daddy.
bad with it. Yeah, I think you get that trait from your father.
Well, did it light or did it lit?
It lit.
lit.
Good job. It lit. So is this fire number 3 that you've lit with just one match?
Correct. Uno macholo.
It was so funny when Adeline was like, Daddy thinks he can light a fire with one match. It's not even smoking. And then
Oh,
turn
don't
around
worry,
and there's just like
girl.
this blaze. That was
Your
awesome.
dad was in Boy Scouts.
I'm so excited. Second time doing this.
Yeah,
Our
we're making
third-
some more campfire count.
Bye-bye.
Ew.
And this time we're actually camping while we're making.
What is that? Starburst? All right, we're gonna try it out. All right, we got our campfire cones set up over here.
Oh, man.
See if we can get those right. Tom has a masterpiece brat going.
And I've got a marshmallow.
Meg and Gage are working on marshmallows. Ooh, that looks pretty good.
Mommy, right there, though.
Oh, what happened there, Gage?
I accidentally touched the log.
Oh.
Can I do another one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Tried some starburst.
Oh yeah, we're doing the starburst. Okay, let's see how that goes, Corbin. All right, Gagey, how is the starburst on the fire?
Amazing
Yeah?
and awesome. It's awesome.
Awesome. I didn't love it so much, but I'm not a huge starburst fan, so maybe do you think that's the problem?
I never even tried it.
Maggie didn't try it?
Eating marshmallows.
Maggie's just sticking with the classic marshmallows. She doesn't need any fancy cones or starburst, just give her marshmallows, right?
This was one thing about camping this time that we got to do, like full camping was campfire every night.
Yeah.
Because it was cooler, you wanted a campfire so you could sit around and stay outside.
Yep.
Otherwise, no one wanted to be outside. But like the kids, when we were in Texas, all they wanted was to have a campfire, and we couldn't because there was a no burning ban because it was too dry.
Yep.
And so we had a blazing fire every night.
Yeah.
And they thought it was fantastic. S'mores every night.
Yeah.
I think we cooked our meal over the fire.
Yeah, we made brats and campfire cones, and so we cooked everything that we could over the fire, and it was super fun. And it was fun because like everyone else had fires going around the campground. I mean, this campground we stayed at the second nights, I mean, it was just one of those like a parking lot kind of, but we were right on Lake Superior, and everyone else was just set up and had all their fires going, so it was really cool. So.
That's where people are a little too friendly. Keep walking.
That was one of my things. Everyone is really friendly when you're camping. I can't believe it.
Isn't that just swell?
Everyone is so nice and helpful. We walked by one camper, and the gal was selling like these cool painted rocks, and Adeline was super interested then in it, so the gal was telling her how she did it, and then the gal came over later and brought her like this little set of little dowels that she used to paint and said, here's a little starter set. And so it was so fun, and it's, you know, everyone wants to know like, where are you from, and like.
So that stuff is cool, okay? What I don't think is cool about the overly friendly camper is like, I'm parking my camper at my site, and people come over like, oh, hey, can I help you back up? Oh, hey, can I help you level up?
Got it.
Like, no, dude, I'm a man. Leave me alone. Or, same thing, I was hooking up when we were leaving, and some guy comes over like, oh, hey, you want a spotter? No, dude. Beat it.
So what do you say? Like, no, I'm good?
No, you just don't reply.
No. Seriously?
No.
You just look at him like you can't hear the words coming
No,
out.
I was like, no, I got it. I'm okay. And then he didn't go away.
Well, and then we were pulling up to dump, and before we left the final day, and you could tell the guy ahead of us was just, well, you could see one side of his sweatshirt was wet, like all wet, and I'm like, this is not going well.
So he hooked up the water line to flush out his black tank, and it was like spraying water everywhere. So he got all wet with that, and then his wife got wet, and then you could tell they weren't super happy.
Yeah.
But then he comes walking back to me because it was taking forever. And long story short, their valve was stuck closed on their black tank. So not only did they have some black water in there,
he had just filled it up.
Then they filled it full of water because they thought they were gonna flush it.
We should probably add one. Don't start flushing your black water tank until you know that the door's open or the valve thing's open.
I would never, ever, ever, ever flush the black water tank if I pulled the valve on the black tank and nothing came out. I would not think, let's put more fluid in there. Nope. Yeah.
So you were able to help him problem solve that, and then
he was just gonna keep pumping more water in it. I was like, you don't want to do that.
Goodness,
it's gonna go north.
It has to go somewhere. Right?
Don't do that. Oh, that was fun. So while we were on our little trip, we started homeschooling. Let's be honest. Would I be a good teacher?
Yes, you would be.
Shop class.
So I knew that our second oldest was not super excited about homeschooling. She would still prefer to go back to regular school, which is not regular school this year. But so I thought, you know, maybe if we start doing it while we're on vacation, it'll just make it feel different and fun. And so we did, and it was super cool. So I'm gonna do a full homeschooling update on my blog. So I will put a link down below and you can watch that video about curriculum we're using, how our first couple of weeks are going. And so what was cool was that the lesson we were doing was about volcanoes and glaciers. And so while we were out hiking and exploring, we got to see volcanic rock and how certain areas were formed by volcanoes and how Lake Superior was formed by glaciers. And so it was really fun to get to learn about it in the morning and then go out for the day and get to see all of this stuff too.
That was the best because you could see on every one of their faces how it clicked, and they were like,
oh,
this is awesome.
Is that cool? Wow.
Mom, it kind of looks like when you're talking about volcanoes and how
Yeah, it was like
rock, like making stuff like
Like the crater inside of it. That's what I think too.
that's really cool.
And what's cool is that yes, our second youngest, he didn't seem like he was like he was sitting there, but like it did not seem like a single thing was registering.
Nothing's going on.
But then Tom like builds the fire for the night, and Corbin's like, oh, that kind of looks like a volcano, the way the smoke was coming out the top and all that. And I'm like, oh yeah, what are the different parts? And then he was talking about it, so I'm like, okay, it's going in, like, so we're good. So
it's almost like in the process of it going in, he's like shut down.
yeah, it's just,
like
so I'm like, okay.
he's just receiving data.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm not gonna worry so much about it, but so that was kind of cool. And then Maggie did after like 2 days. She was like, this is really cool. So I was like, okay. So, but it might be a tough act to follow because we can't always do like
Right, so that's what I
that.
was gonna ask you. How are you gonna follow it up for the next second week of school?
I don't know yet. I think you're in charge of those field trips. So
Oh my goodness, is that ever true?
So we left Sunday morning of Labor Day weekend and spent the first 2 days with Tom's family, which was really fun. And then got up to Two Harbors along the North Shore and camped there. And so we were planning on coming home on Wednesday, but I think it was Tuesday night and I was like, nope. I just can't even think about having to like pack up tomorrow morning and already be heading back. And so I was like, are you okay if we stay another night? And you had originally wanted to, I think.
Yeah, I had originally wanted to stay longer just because I knew like it's kind of a bunch of work hauling this big old thing around behind you and setting it up and so yeah, no, it was good that we stayed another day.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I mean, was one of the big motivations behind us homeschooling this year because we had planned on switching even before everything. And so it was just to have, like, Tom and I both work from home. And so it's like, well, if the kids can have the same flexibility, then hey, why not, you know? And so it was nice that we could already take advantage of that. And it is kind of fun to think about, like, well, where else could we go for a week or two? Or the question came up too during our Q&A, how was the $300 mattress? Wah, wah. You get what
surprisingly
you pay for.
like terrible, like absolutely terrible.
Like not even a little bit comfortable. I don't
Okay, I take it back. Way more comfortable than us sleeping on the cushions on the floor of our other camper. Way more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm just imagining way more comfortable than what the mattress in that camper would have been because it was like that thick.
Yeah. But I do think that it came with like a 90-night warranty, so I do think we're gonna return it because it really wasn't comfortable.
No.
So we'll probably return it and see if we can find something else. The reason we got that one was because it was in stock. It was the only one in stock. Everything else would have arrived after we left, and so
which wouldn't have helped us.
Which would not help us. But it got really good reviews too.
Well,
but maybe for $300, I don't know.
feel like a lot of stuff gets really great reviews, and we're like, who reviewed this? We don't like it.
Yeah. So we had a really great trip, got back home, so no problems with the excursion the whole entire time we were gone, which was awesome, but...
Which was like a miracle.
Which was just like, the whole trip, I mean, it really, mechanically, everything went really smoothly, which we were really grateful for. But got back home and now we have more projects. Like, it just feels like there's projects everywhere we look. Coming up next week, we're gonna show you the girls' bedroom and what we're planning.
Because that's on the list.
Well, there's just a couple things we have to do in there, but we'll show you next week why we have to do that. We're also looking at some trees, some big trees to plant, but lots of other projects to wind up before winter too.
Deck railings, the material finally is in to finish the play set, and it's getting cold and harvest is coming, and...
So we better get back to work, but we hope you have a great weekend and we hope your projects go smoothly. There's cows moving.
Bye-bye!